Okay, Carl, here's another question from a teacher. How can I help my students do better on the STEM test? What are some of the strategies they can use?
Well, that's great, because obviously we want our kids to do as well as possible on the test. But there's a kind of a deeper question underneath that, which is, should I be teaching to the test? And that's kind of a dirty word in education. And I agree, that's a really bad thing. If, for example, you get sample items from the SAT and that sort of thing, then you're kind of messing up the accuracy of the test, and that's not a real good use of students' time either, right? Then they're just doing test prep. They're not learning anything new. So when we designed STAMP, we thought about this problem a lot, and we said, let's make a test that's proficiency oriented so that teachers should teach to the test, not by giving them items and drilling the kids, but by developing real proficiency. So in the classroom, if you're helping kids through maybe role plays, or you're writing extemporaneous essays, giving them situations they haven't encountered before. Unrehearsed. Those are things that the kids will be able to take out into the real world, and yeah, they'll do better on the STAMP test because that's the kind of situation we put them in, but it'll also help them if they travel to Tokyo or Beijing or wherever they want to go. So in that case, teaching to the test, quote unquote, is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yep. You're basically giving them the opportunity in the classroom to use the same skills that are going to be important, not only on STEM, but also because STEM is based on real things you need to perform in the target language, the target culture, also do better in the real world when they are talking, listening, reading in that language, right?
Exactly. And it really suggests, really good practices that experts in curriculum and instruction encourage us to do anyway. For example, staying in the target language. That's a great way to get your kids ready to do well on STAMP. It's really good to give them realistic situations. Another thing that we see is a problem is sometimes the teachers won't believe that the kid got an item wrong. Let's say it's a reading item about it's a weather report, and the kid misses the item on the weather report, and the teacher says, "But we did weather in October."
Yep.
Well, you did weather in October, but the test was in April. And if you don't review weather regularly, you don't have to do it every day, but if you just do it in October and say, okay, we're done with weather, sure, the kid's going to forget it. So it really encourages that kind of spiraling and coming back and practicing and going a little bit deeper, maybe not covering quite as many grammar points or doing quite as many homework problems or something, but really, really recycling all those things that you do. So I think those are things you can do in the classroom months, years before the test, that'll help kids do better on STEM.
That's a great point. So these are strategies that can help students perform better on STEM that are focused on what goes on in the classroom in terms of the methodology, the teaching strategies, the activities you do. I think there's other things as well that can help students perform better on STEM, and one is just knowing what to expect when they're going to be taking the test.
Even on the test itself.
On the test
so when the
itself.
kid's actually sitting there taking STEM. So what can they do when the kid walks down and they sit down in front of the computer? What can they do to get a better score?
So for example, if you go to the Avant website, we have sample tests for each one of the languages that we offer that are in exactly the same format. You're going to see the kinds of item types that we have, the structure in the computer of how things are shown. That will reduce anxiety when you take the test, right? It helps with proctoring. You know what to expect. Students know what the questions look like. That's going to help them perform better on the test. Another thing when you're taking the test is, that's kind of a personal tip. Because of the adaptive way that STAMP works, you always have to take reading before writing, because the prompts that you're going to see in the writing section, they are informed, the level of the prompts is informed by your results in reading. It wouldn't make sense, for example, if you score a 1 on the reading section of STAMP for us to give you a writing prompt at level 8, advanced mid. So that's a little bit of a personal tip. I think that taking the reading section before you take the listening section allows you as a student to get input in the language that will activate your productive knowledge later for writing, where you control the speed, for example.
Well, I was going to say, and in reading, you control the speed. In listening, those prompts come at you fast.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So again, a way to reduce the test anxiety a little bit. So I think that's great. So these are tips from the guy who designs the test. Okay, so you got a little hack into the stamp test here. Are there any other things that you would suggest that students do while they're sitting there taking the test that would help?
Yeah, I think another good strategy is before you actually read the passage, and this is a strategy that works not only for stamp but pretty much any other standardized testing you're taking. Read the questions and the answers first. In the real world, whenever we're listening to something,
you mean don't read the text first.
Don't focus on the passage first.
Yeah.
Read the questions about what you're going to read. In the real world, whenever you listen to something, you already have a target. You have a goal. You know what you want to understand, right?
Yeah.
You know what information you're looking for. So when you're taking stamp, it's perfectly fine. It's not cheating or anything like that if you read the questions first, because then you're more in tune with what kind of information you have to
So let's say
expect.
it's the weather. The weather question. I gave that example before, and the question is, you're talking about having a picnic on Tuesday. Is this going to be a good day to have the picnic? Right?
Yeah.
If you know that, then when you look at the weather report, you're just looking for Tuesday. You don't have to go through Monday and Wednesday and Thursday and all that. You're just looking for that one piece of information that'll save you time, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a perfectly fine test-taking strategy. In the real world, when you go to a restaurant and you know you want to have a hamburger, you go for the hamburger. You don't necessarily have to read every
the
little
menu
piece,
from
right?
beginning to end.
It's a real-world strategy. It's a skill.
Yeah.
I think my last bit would be, if you don't exactly know what the correct answer is, try to eliminate the distractors. That's also a very important skill in the real world.
So the wrong answers. Eliminate the wrong answer first.
Yep, that might make things a little bit easier for you, and then that correct answer will actually come to you naturally once you start eliminating the incorrect ones.
All right. Well, we hope this helps you do better on the stamp test, and if you're a teacher, helps you prepare your students to do well.